AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
And what's going on, Bruin Nation, LAFB fam? How we doing? The Madman here for all of your UCLA football and basketball needs. Excited to jump on after a couple of days. You guys have asked for a number of months now, but Thriller and I are going to be diving deep into this basketball season. We got one more month of football season, and the show rolls on with your dynamic duo, the Thriller and Madman, as we are going all in on basketball as well. So wanted to kick off the conversation here. Thriller and I are going to be back together later this week, previewing football in terms of the Nebraska game and all of that, but been on business travel this week, so wanted to jump on and really recap the home opener for basketball and give some insights there. And so without further ado, we'll sort of jump into it. 12th ranked UCLA Bruins beat Eastern Washington 80-74 in front of the friendly confines of the legendary Pauley Pavilion to move their season to 1-0 and really kick off this 2025-2026 campaign. Now, obviously, a lot to clean up. A win is a win, but UCLA came into this game significantly as a favorite, over a 20-point favorite in this game. And so you walk away only winning 80-74. Certainly, I don't want to say there's alarm bells per se, but there are some areas for concern that you really want to clean up, particularly these next couple of games. You got Pepperdine at home on Friday. You got West Georgia the following Monday. And then we got that big one at Intuit Dome against 13th ranked Arizona, and expecting all of Bruin Nation to be out at that Intuit Dome to support our beloved Bruins. But let's really kind of get into this game. And I think the conversation has to begin with the dynamic arrival of the much heralded guard, the number one player in the transfer portal this year, Mr. Donovan Dent. And Donovan Dent did not disappoint. 21 points, 9 assists, totally controlled this game. There's a dynamism to Dent. He is probably UCLA's most explosive player and dynamic player and spectacular player on the wing since Lonzo Ball. And I think he's going to have a Lonzo Ball-like impact on this team. And I think what's going to be so fascinating is this is the first time in the Mick Cronin era that, and he's alluded to this in the offseason, that he truly has a lead guard that is NBA caliber and NBA All-Star caliber. And I think how Cronin lets go of the leash and allows Dent to be Dent and really this offense to be more free-flowing, I think is going to be the most significant storyline of the Bruins in this 2025-2026 season. Because the knock on Cronin, for as great as he has been over the course of his UCLA career, obviously the tune of that 2021 Final Four, a number of great seasons that he's been able to put together, that 23 season where we just got injured at the wrong time. Otherwise, I believe this team would have gone toe-to-toe with UConn in the national championship and presumably had an opportunity to come out on top. Despite those two great seasons, we've left wanting more from the Cronin era these last couple of years. And the knock has always been that he has not allowed the offense to be as free-flowing as it could be. He hasn't been able to give the reins up for the offense to be more creative, more relaxed, and his rotations are way too tight. Now, this is the first opportunity he has now to have such a talented lead guard. So I think the storyline is going to be that Cronin-Dent dynamic where Chapter 1 unfolded here Monday night at Pauley Pavilion. Dent was absolutely spectacular. We talked about the line, but just his command of the offense, getting everybody involved, no-look passes, just the feel. Everyone seemed open at all times with Donovan Dent, and everyone has to be ready receiving the ball because he's got incredible floor vision, can make every pass right hand, left hand, bounce pass, chest pass, the spectacular pass as well, no look. He's got the entire repertoire that you want from a pure point guard. And then offensively, I think that first step is just so explosive. Thriller alluded to it on Twitter. One of the most explosive first steps that he has seen anyone in a UCLA uniform demonstrate over the last couple of years. And I have to agree with him on that fact, and just kind of the creativity off the bounce. I think we'll probably see that jump shot emerge even more over the course of this season. But he looks like a 3-level offensive player. And when you couple it with the playmaking, Donovan Dent is the real deal, ladies and gentlemen. And UCLA, particularly in this era of college basketball, it's always been the case, but it feels even more in this greater parity era with NIL in college basketball. If you've got an elite lead guard in college basketball, you have a chance to cut down the nets in March, no question about it. And so Dent led the way with 21 points. Tyler Bilodeau, our great Tyler Bilodeau, leading scorer from last year, chipped in with 19, really kind of feeding off of Dent in very unique ways. Bilodeau, of course, can do it with such great versatility down in the low post. He can get you off the perimeter. He's got those moves really from a jump hook perspective. Just he's so crafty. And I always sort of talk about this with the Bruin audience last year. He reminded me so much of Pau Gasol, and just in terms of his game, his craftiness, his intelligence. And then you couple that with 14 points from Xavier Booker, the transfer 6'11" from Michigan State, looked very comfortable, particularly down low. I think he's going to have an opportunity to be a tremendous rim runner as Donovan Dent continues to evolve. And I think a lot of those feeds off of Dent penetration, Xavier Booker is going to be the beneficiary in a significant way. And then you round it out, the double-figure scoring for the night, 11 points for Sky Clark, and then 10 for super sophomore Tyler Perry. And so I think offensively was a really nice story. 80 points, 47% shooting, 38 points in the paint. UCLA was able to really move the ball around and score in a fashion that we would have expected them given this roster at the beginning of the season. I think the concern in this first game was defensively. And when you think about a Mick Cronin team, giving up 74 points at any point in the season is a large number, but particularly to a non-Power 4 team, to give up 74 points. Eastern Washington was 53% from the floor for the entire game, and they matched UCLA in terms of 38 paint points. So there was a lack of toughness. There was a lack of physicality defensively, much like that 2017-2018 team that Alford had with Lonzo Ball, and just it was a wide open, free flowing style, and that's kind of what it felt opening night here at Pauley. Cronin in his post game press conference really sort of was classic Cronin. He was almost in mid-season form there, talking about the effort not being there, talking about how he sort of failed the players in terms of intensity and not getting them ready to compete. But I think a lot here had to do, that lack of defensive intensity and execution, in my mind, had a lot to do with the absence of Eric Daly. And I think Eric Daly is just such a versatile defender for UCLA, can essentially defend all 5 positions. He's the emotional leader of this team. He's also the floor general defensively. And not having Daly on the floor, I think, really limited UCLA defensively, particularly in this opening game. And you got to remember, with Daly gone and Kobe Johnson gone, who graduated last year, you're talking about your 2 best defenders and perimeter defenders by far on last year's team. Kobe Johnson graduated. Daly's going to be back here very soon. But not having those 2, you could tell there was just a lack of length. There was a lack of versatility on the defensive side of the ball. And once Daly comes back, this is going to be a very formidable starting 5 in my mind, because you'll have Xavier Booker at the 5, Bilodeau at the 4, Daly at the 3, and then you got Sky Clark at the 2, and then Dent as your lead guard. And then you can have Jamar Brown and Tyler Perry come off the bench from a guard perspective and really be that microwave on offense. And then perhaps Jamerson becomes that second big off the bench, and that's probably going to be your 8-man rotation. So I think there's a lot to be excited about at the possibilities once Daly is back in terms of the versatility that this team brings. But clearly, I think they sort of, I don't want to say took Eastern Washington for granted, but I think maybe got a little bit too caught up in sort of the pageantry of opening night and didn't bring that defensively. I expect that defensive intensity to go way up Friday night against Pepperdine and against West Georgia to really be ready for that first test against 13th ranked Arizona. They look fabulous in their opener, so that's going to be the ultimate test. So lots to be excited about, folks, in terms of UCLA basketball. We're going to break it all down for you. Last couple of seasons, we've dabbled in it, Thriller and I. We've explored the possibility of doing basketball for UCLA. We've been so focused on football. This is the year we're committing all in. We're going to have post-game coverage after every game. We're going to preview some games as well. This is going to be just like our football coverage, and we're so excited about it. And since I have you guys, obviously we talked a bit about the Nebraska preview. That's going to be an interesting one. Thriller and I will break it down in a couple of days. But Dylan Raiola's injury, season-ending injury, broken fibula last week against USC. Now Nebraska has to fly cross-country and play UCLA with a first-time starter, true freshman quarterback. Bruins start 2.5-point favorites. This feels like a very similar line to what the situation was at Maryland. This is a golden opportunity for UCLA to play a very proud Nebraska team, a good Nebraska team. I wouldn't consider them a great Nebraska team by any stretch of the imagination, but them coming cross-country to the Rose Bowl with a first-time quarterback. This is an opportunity for the Bruins to get back to their winning ways, get to 4-5, and then you got Ohio State and you got Washington before the Victory Bell game at the end there. You split those two, you're sitting at 5-6 with an opportunity to make a bowl game, ladies and gentlemen, going into the Coliseum for that Victory Bell. What a huge game that will be at the end of November. So we're so excited about the possibilities with football and basketball. And of course, the Bruins, what's been so interesting the last couple of days on the football side has been recruiting. Anthony Jones recommits to UCLA after exploring his possibilities, which is so unique considering there's still a lot of uncertainty with this coaching staff. But I think what recruits are starting to see is, A, the commitment of the coaching staff that's currently in place, but B, the understanding that once you have stability in that coaching room, no matter who it is, really, but if you have credible, sophisticated, focused coaches that bring stability to this program, I think recruits are seeing that, look, the sky is the limit for UCLA in terms of, we've talked about it so much, in terms of campus, in terms of the LA market, in terms of the opportunity to play at the Rose Bowl. More on that in just a second, in terms of what UCLA brings both on the field and in the classroom, as well as from an alumni networking perspective. So things are all pointing up in terms of UCLA sports, both in terms of football as well as basketball, and we're very excited about that moving forward. And then the last story that I'm sure you guys are tracking over the past couple of days has been a very interesting dynamic between the Rose Bowl, the city of Pasadena, and the UCLA athletic department. Pasadena is actually attempting to file litigation against the UCLA athletic department for claims that UCLA may be exploring a different venue, more specifically SoFi Stadium, to host their home games moving forward. If you recall, UCLA has a lease with the Rose Bowl from now until 2044. There's been a lot of interesting conversation about whether it's the Rose Bowl, the size, the distance being 26.2 miles from campus, really attributing to this attendance apathy, particularly that we've seen over the last 10 years, and UCLA kind of exploring all possibilities. A lot of strong opinions on both sides. Some believe that the Rose Bowl is so iconic as a college football venue that UCLA would be foolish not to play there. Others believe that SoFi does not provide the requisite tailgating experience that UCLA and the Rose Bowl would, as they would in Pasadena. So lots of pros and cons there at the same time. SoFi is a little bit closer, not so much closer. And the fact that you have sort of the name recognition of SoFi with the Rams playing there, the Chargers playing there, perhaps you can pull in the more casual LA football fans that just enjoy great sporting events. So, there's a lot to unpack there, but I think the bottom line is UCLA is being very prudent in terms of potentially exploring their options here. And obviously, if there is no path forward from a litigation standpoint, you don't want to be in court for years to come. You don't want to pay all those legal fees. You don't want to get into a place of a structural deficit, the way you were in terms of dead money with coaches, the way you were with this athletic department in the last 5 or 6 years. So if there is an opportunity to potentially make a choice in terms of what your home stadium is without a ton of time investment and a top of money investment, you have to explore it. For me personally, I don't know if I love the SoFi idea. I think SoFi is starting to evolve very much so as a pro stadium. I think the beauty of UCLA at the Rose Bowl is very special. It is very far. There's no question about it. But once you get there, that tailgating experience on the golf course, there's nothing like it. And all the Bruins need to do is to really get focused on football, focus their resources, focus their emphasis. And I think so many great things have been happening with the athletic department, with the hiring of chief revenue officers, with the hiring of very business-minded staff members. A lot of folks they've pulled from the executive ranks of Disney, and they've brought that thinking in terms of game experiences, in terms of ticket packages, in terms of access to experiences while you're there. So I think you want to let that play out for a couple of years, collect the data, and see if that is helping, along with obviously having a much more significant product on the field. So more to come. I think that's going to be more of an ongoing story in terms of where UCLA football is headed from a venue perspective. But between this upcoming game against Nebraska, recruiting now turning around back in our direction, and then, of course, basketball being back in a very significant way, 12th ranked team on the men's side, and of course, third-ranked team on the women's side, with all the aspirations to win a national championship. It has never been a better time. It's always the ultimate time to be a Bruin, but we have a ton to be excited about as we get to the end of the year. And so, folks, before I sign off on a quick one here, we got to pay the bills around here. You see the Sleeper app below. Number one sports app in the world today is the Sleeper app. You got the live stats. You got the engagement feeds. You got real-time chat. This is a holistic number one app experience. And use that promo code UCLA LAFB, $100 off your match bonus. So you put in 100, you get 100 free. That becomes 200 right off the bat. Use that promo code UCLA LAFB and tell them the guys at the LAFB network sent you. Well, folks, that's it for the Madman here. I've been on business travel this week, back to be excited to get back to the friendly confines of the Madney residence and be able to have a great session with my man Thriller here in the next day or so as we preview Nebraska. And like I always say, be loud, be proud, be passionate Bruins, and always fours up forever.